Okay, so we are back on the second week. So this is gonna be the second AI app. So I'm gonna try to make one each week. So this is gonna be a bit different today. Something I haven't really played around with at all. We're gonna have a pretty standard setup again. We're gonna use cursor. We're gonna use Shadcn UI for the front end, Next.js, OpenAI, GPT-4 Mini. It's so cheap. It's so nice to play around with. But you can see down here, we are going to introduce Supabase. So today we are going to try to actually use some, you can call them AI agents. At least there are two AI agents cooperating on solving or improving a problem that is sent in from the user, right? So my idea was that we could just, on the front end, we just want to have like an input box for the user to put in like the request. And further down on the UI, I kind of want this conversation tab, right? So here the agents can talk to each other to try to improve. So you can see we have agent 2, agent 1, and we're gonna give them some kind of name. But what I want to do here, so here is the user input, right? That's fine. So this is our front end, of course. This is our back end. And what I wanted to do here is that, of course, the responses from OpenAI is going to be displayed in here, right? So, of course, we're going to send the user input to OpenAI. We're going to return the response here. I also wanted to have like a second field in the UI that you can't really see here. So if we fill this back up, we can kind of do this. I kind of want this split field here. So on this side, maybe of the app, we're going to display some kind of code that is generated from OpenAI. So here we're gonna have some kind of code, right? That is actually extracted from this conversation. And this code state, right? So this is gonna be an updated code state. It's gonna be stored to our DB and Supabase. I think we're also gonna store the conversation in Supabase. And this is because I wanted to try to create some kind of memory system here, right? So each time we load up the app again, this code state is going to be loaded into our app. The previous code state, so I think we're only going to do the previous code state. And we can also do the previous conversations if we wanted to. So this will be context going forward. So that gives us kind of some kind of flexible memory using a database, right? I've been wanting to try this for a while, and I think now's the time. So we're going to use cursor to set this up. I think it should be pretty easy. But I haven't tried it, so we don't exactly know. So yeah, I'm just going to take you through it. I hope you enjoyed it. So let's just head over to Vercel V0, I think. I haven't showed you that too. Okay, so as we talked about, we are going to start with the front end in today's AI app. So we are actually going to use something called v0.dev. So this is from Vercel, where you can actually generate UI, ask questions. So it's very good at creating some kind of UI components using Next.js and Shadcn. So yeah, like I said, we're going to start with the front end. So I have kind of prepared a prompt here for our app. So like you see, we're just going to say like Next.js, Shadcn, v0 custom components for the front end. So we want the front end to be a vertical split, 50-50. We want on the left, there is the agent conversations. On the top left interface, there's a user input field where the user can input like a job request or some kind of request. On the right side of the 50-50 split, there's the current code state from the database. So we want this code state to be loaded kind of in a code block terminal style. We'll see what we get here. We can change that as we want it. And we want a dark theme with a kind of hacker-like font. So I think we're just going to start with this. So I'm just going to copy my prompt here, right? I'm going to head to V0 here. Let me do and start here. The way I like to prompt this is I just use this XML wrapper tags here. So you can see we have plan, prompt, and I kind of put in, my plan inside these tags. Prompt, create a UI from app following the plan. Enter. And now we can zoom out a bit here. Okay, so you can see what's going to happen now is that V0 will actually try to create a UI for our app layout, right? So if we turn off the dark reader here, you can better see kind of the UI we are interested in. Yeah, I think this looks pretty pretty good, right? So we can do like a job request here. We can submit it. Hello. Hello. Okay, so we get kind of the... All right, I think this is fine, right? You can see up here now we had something called add to code base. And this is the command we can run in Cursor to actually add this to our code base, right? So I'm going to show you that soon, how we use that. But now let's head over to Cursor. Now we want to set up our app here, right? And for this, if you have seen the previous video of the AI app of the week, we have these small prompts here that I use to quickly start a project. So I'm just going to copy my Shadcn setup. For this is for the front end, right? I'm just going to go open up a terminal. I'm going to open up a chat, right? Okay, so we have that set up. I'm just going to run this prompt here now. This Shadcn prompt. You can find this in the link below if you wanted to. So today you can see we get some bash commands here we can just click on. So we're going to create our next app. And we're going to create, put it in the front end folder, right? Here we're going to choose TypeScript, lint, Tailwind, yes, 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 or no maybe. And we're going to just follow the instructions here. So I'm just going to let this install. We can go into our front end. We can install the Shadcn CLI so we can actually import those components. And we can initialize Shadcn, right? So that was done. Now we want to run this command, get into our front end. We want to install Shadcn CLI here. Okay, so let's initialize this. So we want New York. I want sync. Yes. Okay. And that is pretty much this. You can see we get some other stuff here, but this should be completed now. You can also go in here to check, right? But you can see now we want to run this and see if we got our Next.js setup here. So I could just follow this, right? Okay, yeah, that looks pretty good. So I'm happy with that. And now I want to show you how we can do this now. So let's just stop this, right? Terminate this. And remember now when we went to Vercel, you can see we have this command here. So let's just copy this, right? And this should allow us to kind of add the component we created here, the components. So we're just going to paste that into our terminal here, right? We can close this chat now. So you can see this is going to check the registry and then it's going to find this and it's going to install all the dependencies. It's going to add the input component, button component, scroll component. So if you go down here, let me just move my camera. So you can see if you go down here, we have something called components, UI, and we have all of these installed, right? And here we kind of have the app layout. So what I want to do now is kind of turn this into our page, right? That should be fine. Then we can actually utilize these components here and look at how our app layout is looking now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this, right? I'm going to go to page, paste it in here. I'm just going to delete this. I guess we will get some errors now if we do npm run dev, right? We will probably get some kind of error here is kind of my guess. Let's see. Okay, yeah, you can see the default export is not a React component in /page. So let's fix that. Okay, so one easy way to fix this is just highlight this. We can do add to chat, right? And let's do help me resolve this error, please, right? And do control enter here because we want to have the full code base as context. So I'm just gonna let this run so you can see I'm on slow request now because I used all my fast requests. But it isn't too bad, right? And you can see we need to change the app layout function, right? Okay. We need to change up the page TST here. Okay, so we can do that. We're probably gonna change some stuff here. So let's just apply this. You can see the diff here. We're gonna accept this, save it. And if we scroll down here, right, this should do it. So if we go back here now, boom, we have it, right? So we can do hello, hello, updated code based on hello. Okay. So now you can see we kind of have our UI here. It's very dynamic, easy to use. So I think this is a good start. And now we kind of need to move on to the more complex part of our project. That is going to be the backend. So yeah, let's get into it. So I think the first thing we want to do is just set up our project in Supabase, right? So this should be pretty easy to do. So we're just going to click on new project here. Okay, so we're gonna give it a name, AI agents. I don't know. Let me just do a quick password. Okay, so I have a password. I'm just gonna choose Stockholm. That's close to me. Create this project, right? Okay, so I'm gonna take this down, but anyway, you will get like your API keys here, right? And you will get like a URL, right? So we kind of need those. But for now, we're just gonna leave those there, and we're gonna kind of move on to the next part that is gonna be like the OpenAI integration. But first, I think we're just gonna start by installing some servers here. So let's just clear up this chat here. We can open up a new terminal, right? So let's just go here to our folder. I just wanna open up the chat, and I'm gonna do back here. We have a prompt. So now we're gonna use my backend prompt here to kind of install that, right? And execute this prompt, right? Let's make sure we are, yes. So we're gonna make a directory, backend. So we're gonna run this bash command down here. Okay, then we're gonna initialize this. We're gonna install some dependencies, express course, great. And then we're gonna make an index.js in our backend here, right? Index.js. We're gonna apply this code. Accept this, great. And that's pretty much it, right? And now we can test this server, right? So let's run it. Hopefully this is running. Server is running. Great. So that's a good start, I think. Now we kind of have our front-end folder set up here. What's this? Yeah, I don't know. And we have our backend folder set up. So now we kind of need to move on to start implementing some AI agent logic on the backend here, right? Okay, so the first thing I did is I went back to my notes. I kind of copied both the tech stack and my notes here, right, for the app I want to create. I just created like this prompt here, so I wrapped it in this app logic. So this is the first part, and then we have kind of the tech stack, and my prompt is gonna be, let's start by making the connection to our Supabase database first to make sure we can enter this into the DB. Let's implement this, right? So I'm just gonna copy this, the full thing, go back to cursor, right? Paste it in here, and we're gonna do like a control enter here to get the full context, right? So I'm just gonna let this cook, and then we're gonna take a look at kind of the full response here. Okay, so let's just start on the top here. So we're gonna go into our backend. We're gonna install Supabase, right? .env. Great. We're gonna create a new file called supabase.js in the backend folder. Okay, we can do that. We're gonna add this code here. Great. Then we're gonna create a .env file in the backend folder. Okay. .env. We're gonna add this, and then we're gonna go grab our URL and our key, right? So let's do that while we are at it. So let's okay, so you can see we are in our AI agents here. Let me find my API keys for this down here. So I'm gonna copy the URL. Let's go back here, paste it in. Great. And let's also go grab this API key, all right? Okay, that's fine. And that was that done. And then we want to modify our index.js. So we're gonna do some changes there. Import Supabase, right? Okay, git ignore. Yeah, that's fine. And then we can run this. And then we can test it, right? So over on Supabase, we created just a row here. It's just called message. That's gonna pass in like a test. And we have like a timestamp here, right? And you can also see I added this allow for inserts for testing policy. So we can actually use that. So if we go to our terminal now, run this curl command, right? Okay. Success, connection left intact. If we go back here now, boom, we have this, right? Test message, and this is working. So now we can actually send stuff to our database. So that's a good start for our backend. I think the next part now is actually going to be to start creating the two agents we are interested in and get the OpenAI backend going. Okay, so if you go back to our prompt now, you can see we basically have the same app logic, we have the same tech stack, but now I added kind of the OpenAI docs wrapper tags here with just some basic information about how to use the OpenAI chat completion API, right? And we have the prompt. Let's now create our AI agent logic that will allow for two AI agents to communicate, read and write messages from our Supabase DB as context. Use the OpenAI docs to set up the OpenAI API agents backend. Use the GPT-4o mini model. Let's implement this, think in a step-by-step way. So I'm just going to grab that again. We're going to start a new chat here on cursor, right? So I'm just going to paste this in. Control Enter. And let's see if we can start implementing this backend here. Okay, so let's see here now. So make sure we have dependencies in our backend. Yeah, you can see we have this set up. We have OpenAI here. Good. If you don't have that, just do like the npm install OpenAI, right? Yes, the new file aiagent.js in the backend folder. Yeah, we can do that. So like this. Let's add this code here. We're gonna take a look at the code afterwards, but you can see here now we are starting to create some run AI agent. We're using GPT-4o mini. That's good. So let's just accept this. We might take a look at the code afterwards, but for now, just keep on building. So we're gonna update our index file here. We're gonna add probably some roots here. Okay. So the run AI agent, save code state. That's interesting, right? So far, so good. Okay. Yeah, I guess we kind of did that. But anyway, so now the next step is gonna be to kind of create the necessary tables in our Supabase database. So we want something called conversation history table with the ID, role, text, context text created at timestamp with timestone. And we have a new, we can go through one of these together. So let's just copy this table here. Conversation history, right? So over on Supabase, click on new table, conversation history. I'm just gonna leave it like this, right? So let's just create this. And what else did we want? We want the ID. Yeah, we want the role. That's going to be text. So let's insert here. We're going to call it role. It's going to be text. There's text. So let's save that. Okay. Next, we want content. That is also going to be text, right? So let me just finish up this and then we can take a look at the final tables we have, right? Okay, so now we kind of have a conversation history table with the role text, content text. That is going to be our agent conversation, I think. Code state is going to be like a version. We have an integer and we have the code content, right? So that is the tables we created here. Now we want to continue. We want to go to our front end page. We want to update some stuff down here. Okay, we can do that. And accept that. We're gonna save. We're gonna add some handle submit. And then we're gonna update our env file because we want to add our OpenAI API key, right? So let's do that. We can just do like this. So I'm gonna grab my API key and I'm just gonna paste this in here and then let's see where we are at. So if we go to our AI agent.js now, you can see UR agent role, right? So that's going to be software engineer, senior software engineer, assistant. So your task is to collaborate on a software development project. Current code state, latest code state. That's pretty good. And other than that, there's not much in here. So we might have to change up a bit the system message. We'll see about that. And we are on the GPT-4o mini. Okay. So hopefully we're gonna extract the code blocks now from the conversations. We have some regex, right, and stuff like that. So I'm gonna, maybe we'll go through this afterwards. But for now, I think we're just gonna test it and see if we can actually store the conversation in our database and if we can actually update the current code state in the database. So yeah, let's head over to the app. So let's just do the prompt. Write Python code to turn a CSV file into a graph, right? So this is going to be sent now probably first to the software engineer, right? So let's see if we get a response and let's see if we can extract the code here. So, okay, so here's a sample code. Okay, so yeah, we are using pandas, that's great. Import pandas, matplotlib. Okay, but I want to see, is this the code from the software engineer or the senior software engineers? Let me take a quick look here. Okay, so you can see this is the code state from the senior software engineer. That's pretty good. If we go to our database now, let's update the conversation history. You can see I turned off the policies here because we're just running this local. But if you want to do this in production, you kind of had to add some security policies, right? So let's see if we can update this now. Okay, so we have the two conversations. That's good. Yes, and we have the code states. Version 1 and 2, hopefully. Okay, so version 1 was only this. And that was a bit strange. But we got the second version here, so now it's stored in our DB. So that's pretty cool, right? Okay, so I think the next step now is gonna be to start reading from the database. So, okay, our app is running, the agents are writing to the Supabase DB. The next step in the app is gonna be to let the agents read from the database. So each time we start up the app, the agent will read the latest code state from the DB and bring this into context. They will also fetch the two latest conversation messages. Can you help me implement this, please? I think this could be pretty cool. So that is kind of creating some kind of memory for our agents, right? So each time we fire this up, if there is something in the database, we can actually bring that into context. So we can just continue from where we left off, right? So maybe it's not helpful, but it is sort of a cool thing to play around with. And I just want to see where we can take this. Okay, so we're going to start by updating our AI agents file here. So we're going to modify the get conversation history function. Okay. Yes, okay. So let's go here. Let's accept this, right? Index, we're gonna add some more code here. So I'm just gonna go through this and then we can see what we did and let's test it out. So you can see here, these changes will fetch the initial data, latest code state when the component mounts, set the initial code state and conversation history in the state. Now when you start the app, it will automatically fetch and display the latest code state and the two last conversation messages from the database. So let's see how this works now. So I'm just going to restart the server and then we can head over to the app, right? Okay, so if we take a look at the database now, you can see I deleted all the entries in the code state. I deleted the entries in the conversation history. That means that now you can see, okay, we are not reading anything now. But if we put in this write Python code to extract emails from a text, hopefully now we will get some kind of code that contains, should be regex probably, right? Yeah, it should be, right? Import regex, right? And we have this code, right? Okay, that's pretty cool. If you look at the database now, okay, we got the updated entries in the conversation history. We got the code here, great. Now, I wonder, what if we exit this? We just stop this. We can stop our backend, start it again, fire up our frontend again, right? Now, hopefully, when we go back in, we will read this from the database and we can continue. So that means, yeah, great. So that means that our agent now has some kind of memory stored in our database, right? So I think that's pretty cool. And now we should be able to continue. So we can do maybe, I don't know, we can change up this a bit. Also add phone number extraction. This should know now that we have to add this to this code. So we go down here. Also add phone number extraction, right? Let's see if with this updates, boom, here we got a phone number extraction, right? Perfect. And now this should be updated here. Yes, here's the code state. And when we refresh our app now, right, we should load this. Yeah, perfect. So that is the latest entry. So I think that's pretty cool. That's more of like a memory for our AI agents. And there's much more we can do here if we wanted to, right? But I think we kind of came to the end that we wanted to. So now we always have a state, and we can of course alter the agent's memory, right? We can do like, we can delete this, right? Delete this row, and we can probably do some weird things here. Import OpenAI. Let's add some kind of code here to the input. Okay, so we added some Node.js code here, right? Let's save these values. And when we load, this should be the new code state now. Okay, great. So we can do write a function to call the OpenAI API or something like this. So this should have this in context now, right? Yeah, so you can see that works. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. We now can kind of manipulate the brain of our agents, right? But this is a pretty small operation. Of course, we could expand this if we wanted to, but like an entry level using databases with language models, I think this is pretty cool. And there's a bunch of more stuff we can do, like if we go into, let's say, our system prompts here, we can create a new function. We can have a single function for each role. There's a bunch of stuff we can do here. We can introduce structured outputs if we wanted to. But for today, I think this kind of was everything I wanted to try out. So basically what I wanted to test was how we can use Supabase with the LLM, right? And how we can load different states and different memories, right? So it changed a bit from the original plan, but I thought it was pretty cool. And I kind of hope you enjoyed it too. So let me know if you learned something. I don't know if people are interested in this code here. Just let me know. It's not the most advanced, but let me know if you're interested. Just leave a comment. Like the video if you thought it was interesting. And I hopefully see you again maybe on Sunday, or if not, next week for the AI app of the week. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great day, and we speak soon.